Welcome to another episode of Inner Mastery. This is a book club edition. We are diving into chapter 4 of A New Earth with Eckhart Tolle. This is part 3 of this chapter. We're breaking it basically 10 pages at a time. And this section was talking about releasing role-playing and really how to get rid of the background unhappiness in your life. The little bit of irritation, the anxiety, the discontent that's sort of like always lingering at the surface, and how to take control of your own mind, how to stop letting the ego, letting your thoughts just create a miserable experience for you and have complete control of your life, and how to actually create separation, how to realize, wow, this is so unintelligent of me to allow myself to be having a bad time in this life. And if I just release these thoughts, I release these emotions, if I create space, if I disidentify, I can actually start to create the life of my dreams. Now, I hope that you gain a lot of value from this. If you have questions, of course, put it in the comments. We do book club live every single Monday on my Facebook and Instagram channels. I will put those in the description if you want to join us live. And as always, I will put them up here for you. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. Today is Monday. It is book club day, and we are in the midst of reading Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. So if you're joining me live for book club, let me know when you get here. And if you're catching the replay, let me know you're catching the replay. But we go live every Monday at noon Eastern time. And we read about 10 pages a week. This book is dense. It is intense, and so there's a lot to discuss. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Natalia. I'm glad you guys are here. So we started this week on page 106, giving up role-playing. And what a powerful conversation. I think that really this gets into learning how to live life with purpose and not getting distracted by the things that aren't actually important. That's really what I think the essence of this section was. And we've been talking a lot in this chapter so far about role-playing. So all the roles we play, be it playing the role of a parent or a colleague or a brother or a sister or whatever it might be, we get caught up in playing these roles. And so page 106, this really talks about how do we give up role-playing. And if we want to give up role-playing, the key is to understand that life is meant to live without the attachment to all of the meaning that we put into it in this external world, okay? So the key to life is doing things for the sake of doing them, all right? Not doing things to get something from someone or to prove ourselves by some creation in the external world, right? The key is that we are doing things for the sake of doing them, and we're showing up fully in every moment, right? So he talks about on page 107, he says, there are no more than unconscious players in the egoic game, a game that looks so important yet is ultimately devoid of true purpose. He's talking about politicians, TV celebrities, businessmen. They go, do all of these things in the world of form, in life, trying to prove themselves, trying to create something, only to realize when they get there, it's void. Like, put a 1 in the chat if you agree that, like, you have gone after some goal and then all of a sudden you achieve the goal and it didn't actually satisfy you. Like, it did for a moment, but then the next day it was like, well, there's still that, like, inner space that feels empty. Like, I'm still not feeling complete. I'm still not feeling like fully satisfied. If you're going for stuff in the external world, that's what he says. It's ultimately devoid of true purpose. It is devoid of that which you need to truly be happy. Hey, Tina, good to see you. He says, if the egoic earth drama has any purpose at all, it is an indirect one. It creates more and more suffering on the planet, and suffering, although largely ego-created, is in the end also ego-destructive. It is the fire in which the ego burns itself up. It's saying that if you go out into this world of form and you try and do and create, and you're like creating all this suffering along the way, right? Because things aren't going to plan. You can't control everything, blah, 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 blah. What he's saying is that actually the benefit of that, right, is that it will finally create so much suffering that you wake up from the illusion that you are your mind and that you are all of these things, and you'll start to experience yourself as you truly are, the being behind it. But it's tricky to get there, right? The ego dominates this life, and It's on us to figure out, okay, well, what do I do? All right. You need to just be the beingness that you are, right? Spiritual teachings, I think, fall flat a lot of times. So people are like, well, if I'm not supposed to do, then like, what do I do with my life? You know what I mean? Like, we're not supposed to sit here and meditate all day. And the truth of the matter is that it's about being your presence, being the being that you are from moment to moment, all right? It's a simple, neutral, unassuming way of being. If you can be in that space, not attempting to be more, not attempting to be your true self, right? Because that's another role. But if you can just be the presence, moment to moment, interaction to interaction, that's the key to living a good life. That's the key to finding true happiness in every single moment. When there's no second agenda, you're showing up fully in your business, you're showing up fully as your parent, you're showing up fully as the neighbor, doing what needs doing in that moment. And so my question to you is, how do you do that? Right? Do you have any thoughts? Put them in the chat. Like, well, what does this mean? Like, how have you been able to show up present in every moment and release your ego, release the role playing, release the expectations, release all of the expectations of what you're going to get, for doing a certain thing? It's tricky. He says on page 108, if you are totally focused on the situation, you become one with it. You don't try to be anybody in particular. You are most powerful and most effective when you are completely yourself. But don't try to be yourself, because that's another role. Your mind goes, oh, who is Danielle? Well, Danielle acts this way and that way and blah, blah, blah. No. Just be you. Just be present. There's a book. I don't have it behind me because it's in my other space. But part of what I fell in love with Asiya for, interestingly, is a book. It's a Leo Tolstoy story that is written into a children's book called The 3 Questions. And it's about this little boy who's asking all of these animals, like, what am I supposed to do with myself? Who am I supposed to do it for? Like, when do I do the things? Like, he's trying to figure out life. He's trying to find purpose in his life. And ultimately, what he is taught is that it's important to be present, to do what's best for the person in front of you in every given moment. And if you show up fully and serve the person in front of you in a fully present state without expectation and just do what they need, whatever is best for them, that is going to create a life that is purposeful. And that is what you are meant to do. The most important one is the person in front of you. The thing to do is whatever is best for them. That's what you do. Okay? And that's what they're talking about here, right? There's no strategy to be yourself. Let go of that. That's an ego construct. Just be present. Be present with your kids. Just fully listen to them. When they're playing, fully play with them, right? When they're talking, fully be present with them. That's all you need to do. When someone fully feels you and hears you and receives you, you feel loved, don't you? When they're not trying to then give you advice or do whatever, when they're just receiving you as you are, listening, it feels so good. That's what you want to do for other people, okay? No playing roles, just be present. And I was just listening to, my teacher was giving a talk on yesterday. Oh, wow. It was yesterday. And he was saying, in order to get in touch with your true being, you have to drop out of the mind and into the body. And it is through the feeling body that you can actually access the being that you are. The energy body, your true essence, the witness, consciousness. But if the mind is going, the ego is chatty, first of all, you're going to be disconnected from your body. You're not going to feel it as much. And there's no way for you to access your being. But he says the body is the book of secrets. And if you go into your body, through your feeling body is how you can access your being. Those of you that have done inner management mastery with me and you've gone through my program, that's exactly what I teach. I teach you how to go into the body, into sensation, and that sensation opens you up into experiencing the being that you are. All right? It's not taught. Not in the West, it's not taught. It's taught in the East. But it's not taught to us in the West, and it's the key. All right? And then you can interact with people as this field of consciousness, as presence. And people will really appreciate it. All right. And you have to truly appreciate the fact that when your true presence, it's like your inner light is really bright and people will feel it. Okay. So the people in front of you will feel that, they'll be drawn to it. It's a beautiful way to do, a beautiful way to be. So he points out that, we are human beings, right? We're humans, the ego mind, the one that's present here on earth having to navigate this world, but we're also beings. We are the witness behind it all. And he says that, look, it's true that some humans are better than other humans, right? Like Elon Musk is freaking brilliant. How many businesses does he run? I mean, the man's mind, I know, is better than my own mind, right? I'm aware he's better, but as beings, we are equal. There is no human being that is a greater being than another. We're all the same presence. And so he says, in form, you are and will always be inferior to some and superior to others. But in essence, you are neither inferior or superior. Your essence, your beingness. You are neither inferior or superior to anyone. True self-esteem and true humility will arise once you realize this. People have asked me, how have I become confident? Like, how do I have this strong sense of awareness and this strong sense of self and this strong confidence? It came through releasing my mind, through believing that I was inferior to some and superior than others, literally just releasing my ego from talking and experiencing my being and realizing, whoa, this thing that's here all the time is so powerful and it's equally powerful as everyone else. And then I just fell in love with accessing that and wanting to teach other people how to access it. Okay, because if other people access it, like that's the world I want to live in, where we're all living from this place of our beingness, where we're all equal. All right, and we've dropped the ego mind, and we can then appreciate that, whoa, this human is better at this thing than me, so let's work with them. Let's figure that out. Rather than it being some, messing with my own confidence and self-worth, it's like, no, we're all equal. We're all consciousness animated, right? But some humans have figured out certain things to navigate this world differently. We all hold different secrets, different keys. We all can learn from each other, right? You can learn from me and I can learn from you. And that's the beauty of it. Okay? Any questions with this part? I think it was pretty clear what he was getting at, but this is the essence of life, but he says the ego is pathological. And so it causes a lot of problems, right? Because the ego believes it's giving the appropriate response to every situation, when in reality, it's causing suffering, right? The ego doesn't realize, it's creating environmental pollution. I loved how he gave that analogy. He said, your ego and all these negative responses of anger and jealousy and whatever that kick up, that we all have, because we're humans, we all have them. But it creates an environmental pollution, an inner environmental pollution. But the ego doesn't see these negative side effects, right? Because it makes itself feel like it has something to hold on to. And so the ego likes it because it feels justified in being jealous. And so it has identity and it can hold on to that. And so it's wild. But the truth of the matter is, your internal response to the external world is a choice. You can choose to be angry and jealous, or you can choose to be open and kind and patient. And you just have to realize that it's a choice and that your ego is currently probably putting you on a path that's not so great. All right. The ego cannot distinguish between a situation and its interpretation of and reaction to that situation. That's one of the most key points. I'm going to read it again. Your ego cannot distinguish between a situation and its interpretation of and reaction to the situation. So understand this example. What a dreadful day, right? You might say, what a dreadful day, without realizing that the cold, the wind, the rain, or whatever condition you react to is not actually dreadful. The rain is as it is. The cold is as it is. What is dreadful is your reaction, your inner resistance to it, and the emotion that is created by that resistance. You're doing that to yourself, right? I love this quote from Shakespeare. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking that makes it so. It's your internal response to whatever's going on that makes something good or bad, makes it for you or against you, right? Things are just neutral. But we do this powerful thing, all right? He uses this example, and I'm going to read because I just thought this was so freaking good. He says, for example, anger or resentment strengthens the ego enormously by increasing the sense of separateness. emphasizing the otherness of the others, and creating a seemingly unassailable, fortress-like mental position of rightness. If you were able to observe the psychological changes that take place inside of your body when possessed by such negative states, how they adversely affect the functioning of the heart, the digestive system, the immune system, and countless other bodily functions, it would become abundantly clear that such states are indeed pathological, are forms of suffering and not pleasure. It is poison. Literally, I love something my boyfriend says all the time. Like, if anger arises, he immediately is like, that's poison. And he just kicks it out. Like, he doesn't let himself even go there. He just, that's poison. Because when you get angry, feel it in your body. You make yourself sick, right? If you allow yourself to yell at another, feel how you feel afterwards. It is draining. You might find that your digestion system is all messed up. There is so much that gets poisoned internally by your emotional state, by the thoughts that you think. Okay? I agree, Lou. Fantastic paragraph, that paragraph was. So whenever you're in a negative state, there is something in you that wants that negativity and perceives it as pleasurable or believes that you're going to get what you want. And so it perpetuates it. But what you need to realize is that no. This thing is poisoning you. Let it go. Release it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, right? It's like yelling at somebody is you're just poisoning yourself and thinking it's going to hurt the other person. It's not. Okay? But it is going to hurt you. It's for sure going to hurt you. He says on page 112, be free to let go of your unhappiness the moment you recognize it as unintelligent. I loved that. All right? It is an unintelligent response. To be angry, to be jealous, to be filled with resentment, to have all this negativity polluting your inner world, it is literally unintelligent. All right? Because it is literally poisoning you. And so the key is to find it when it's happening, to identify it, and to say, this emotion is not helpful. And when you bring the light of awareness to the emotion, it weakens it. All right? So when you recognize, whoa, I'm getting angry and this isn't helpful, rather than letting the anger pull you and then all of a sudden you're in a rage. Yeah, Lou says road rage is ridiculous. It is. Think about how ridiculous it is, right? You're yelling at somebody that can't even hear you, right? It's just, all it's doing is poisoning you. So this week, I want you to try it, okay? And I want you to say, at this moment, I am creating suffering for myself. When you find yourself triggered, when you find yourself angry, or whatever intense negative emotion it might be, I want you to say to yourself, I am creating suffering for myself. And then drop it. And if you're not sure how to drop it, I will give you some ideas. So one way to drop it is just through the breath. Just literally an audible exhale. It will help to reset your system. There's all sorts of different types of breath work that you can do. The one thing that you can control is to drop it. What else can you do? Shock your system, right? Cold water. Splash cold water on your face. Okay? Run your hands under cold water. Something that just totally changes your state and brings you into the present moment. Because if you can be brought into the present moment, you can't think the thought you were thinking. The emotion will not have control over you anymore. Go out in nature. For me, sometimes I just step outside and it's like total reset. You know, and I just start looking at nature around me, total reset of my system because it brings me into the present moment. Awareness, all right, awareness is what's going to allow you to, and Instagram, if you're having trouble, you can pop over to Facebook. Apologies on that. But that awareness is going to allow you to be able to let those emotions down, all right? And then you're free to let go, right? Once you realize it's unintelligent, I just loved that. Like your ego is so clever and it thinks it's so clever. And then all of a sudden though, it's just that the ego is after these little aims, these little wins, these little moments of feeling great. But intelligence sees a broader thing. You are infinite intelligence and your intelligence will allow you to perceive the bigger picture and will go, I'm poisoning myself. This isn't worth it. And it's going to let go. All right. It's amazing to watch. You see the ego play out on a larger scale. You see it play out in politics all the time. I'm really tuned into the pharmaceutical industry because of my work with the CIA, right? And so I watch the pharma industry. It's like doing these things for short-term gain. Let's make a ton of money, like the opioid crisis. They made a ton of money, even though they knew this was very addictive, but they made a ton of money. They made an ego decision. The ego thought it was so clever, not realizing that now they have created a ripple effect that is hurting humanity on a large scale and will ultimately bring them down as well, right? It was not the right long-term play. It was a short-term gain for the ego. Okay. Bringing the dog outside. Yes, agreed. Just petting your animals. Animals will bring you into the present moment and allow you to let go too. So, the next thing he talked about was background unhappiness. And it's so funny because I read this and I was like, wow, yeah, like everyone is dealing with background unhappiness. This is how he defines it. And just put a 1 in the chat if you resonate with this. Background unhappiness, all right, apart from things like anger and hatred and these big emotions, background unhappiness is far more subtle. Forms of negativity that are so common, they are usually not recognized as such. For example, impatience, irritation, nervousness, being fed up. These all constitute background unhappiness that is many people's predominant inner state. Put a 1 in the chat if you have recognized that within yourself. These are the types of things that come up in most people, that come up in me. Impatience, probably number 1 in my world. I am so impatient. I want things now. And that's my mind. That's my ego. Yeah, Kevin recognizes it too. It's amazing. These things are kind of happening in the background. You need to be extremely alert in order to identify these things. All right. If you are extremely alert, the moment that you become impatient, you can drop it and you can go, that's not serving me. All right. The moment that you become impatient, you disidentify from it and you say, that's my ego. That's not me. I'm going to go back to being the being that is open to whatever is flowing through. Okay. It's key. It's absolutely key. So yeah, a lot of you are recognizing this. So you think these thoughts and you don't know that you're thinking them. They're so unconscious. They're so automatic. Our impatience, our nervousness, our irritation, slight anxiety. It is so automatic that we don't realize that they're happening. It's like the dreamer that doesn't realize they're dreaming, right? We are thinking thoughts and not realizing that we're thinking them and that we can actually choose to think different thoughts. We're so habituated to it, all right? You don't know that you're thinking the thoughts, just like you don't know when you're dreaming sometimes. But once you start to bring awareness, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I loved, this is on page 114. Everyone should just kind of like, what do you call it? Put a dog ear on that page or whatever. He says things that you can do basically to bring awareness to this. So when you have that background unhappiness, he says, to think things like, there's something that needs to happen in my life before I can be at peace. And I resent that it hasn't happened yet. Maybe my resentment will finally make it happen. If you allow yourself, I forget how he sets this up. He says, whenever there is unhappiness in the background of your life or in the foreground, you can see which of these thoughts applies to it and fill in your own content according to your situation. And you'll see how absurd it is. Okay? There's something that needs to happen in my life before I can be at peace, and I resent the fact that it's not happening. Maybe my resentment will finally make it happen. When has your resentment ever made something happen? No, usually slows it down, right? But it's funny that we think this. Something happened in the past that should not have happened, and I resent that. And if that hadn't happened, I would be at peace right now. So how many of you are like, well, if that person hadn't done that thing, if I hadn't gotten that car accident, if that guy hadn't been driving drunk, I would be happy right now. Can you imagine if I lived in that state? There are people living in that state. Something happened to them so many years ago, and they haven't let it go. And so they're miserable today in the present moment. It's ridiculous. Something is happening now that should not be happening, and it is preventing me from being at peace now. Half of the United States, like, I can't believe that so-and-so got elected, and so now I can't be happy. Get over it. It happened. You're having an internal response. Look at your internal response. That's where your power is, right? Anything that happens in the external world, it has happened. It already manifested. It's already here. Nothing we can do. Accept it and now figure out how you can act. Right? That's the key. Often the unconscious beliefs are directed towards a person, and so happening becomes doing. You should do this or that so that I can be at peace. And I resent that you haven't done it yet. Maybe my resentment will make you do it. Like, this is the way the ego thinks. Isn't it funny? Like, I read this, I'm like laughing out loud as I read it, because it's like, this is what our mind is telling us, believing that somehow this is going to get the results that we want. It's not. Okay? Something you or I did or said or failed to do in the past is preventing me from being at peace now. Kevin, if you hadn't said that, I'd be at peace right now. Give me a break. Right? Give me a break. You see how ridiculous it is? High five me. Put a 5 in the chat if you're seeing the ridiculousness of this. Or do I need to explain this more? Or is this becoming like blaringly obvious? What you are doing or failing to do now is preventing me from being at peace. Because of what you're doing, I can't be at peace. Give me a break. You get to choose your internal response. You get to decide. Knock it off. Stop blaming other people. I just posted on my Inner Mastery podcast. So that's the YouTube channel that's Inner Mastery. I think it's Inner Mastery podcast. A whole video about like, I'm not responsible for your feelings. Stop trying to make me responsible for your feelings. You're responsible for your feelings. I didn't cause you to feel anyway. You caused yourself to interact and react and have that reaction. It's not my fault. Right? I keep hearing people talking about these microaggressions and I can't believe you did this or that or whatever. And I'm like, give me a freaking break. You know, you need to take ownership of your life and your own feelings and stop letting your ego do it. We'd all live in a better world if that was the case. So, yeah. Like I said, make a little, what is it? Is it a dog ear? Am I like making that up? Is that what you call it when you do that? To the page, but whatever. Mark this one. I put a huge star next to it. Because it's like, it's just blaringly obviously the ridiculousness of it. But when you're in the emotion, it feels so real. You're so justified. Well, if you had just done this for me, then I would be okay. If you had just given me a hug, if you had just said this thing, if you had just said, I love you, then it all would have been fine. No, you don't need that. No, it's not their fault. It's you. It's your reaction to it. It's your interaction with it. It's you. All right. The secret to happiness is right here. The secret to happiness is understanding this, all right? So listen I love this. He said, listen to people's stories and they will tell you the story entitled, Why I Cannot Be at Peace Now. The ego doesn't know that your only opportunity to be at peace, though, is right now. Or maybe the ego does know, and it's afraid that you might find out. Because peace, after all, is the end of the ego. I thought that was like a funny comment. But it's the truth, right? Everyone has the story of, well, this is why I can't be at peace. Well, this person got elected. Well, this person treated me this way. Well, this person dumped me. Well, this person said this to me. Well, this person posted this on Facebook and it hurt my feelings. Give me a break. Let's grow up. Let's take control. Internal responsibility for how you interact and react. That's the key. That is the absolute key. All right? So we're running out of time here. This statement, life is the dancer and you are the dance. I had to sit with that for a long time because I was like, I get it, and then I didn't get it. And then I got it, and then I didn't get it. I'm like, this is a big thing he's saying. He says, there are 3 words that convey the secret to the art of living. The secret to all success and happiness. Being one with life. Being one with life is being one with the now moment. And then you realize that you don't live your life, but life lives you. It's like you're not living your life. Life is happening through you. Life is the dancer and you are the dance, right? It's happening through you. You're the vessel that is allowing for the whole thing to actually occur. All right? Amazing. Oh my God, I wrote so much else. Okay, how are we going to get through this? We got 2 minutes. What was the best part of this? Okay. Moving from, I think, PTSD to PTG, so moving from post-traumatic stress disorder to post-traumatic growth, a lot of the rest of the chapter I thought was really highlighting how to do that, right? To end the misery that has afflicted the human condition for thousands of years, you have to start with yourself and take responsibility for your inner state at any given moment. That's the trick. That's how we get out of all of this suffering. It's not like humanity has to change and the wars have to stop and the right people have to be elected to office and, your ex-boyfriend or mother-in-law or whatever has to treat you a certain way. No, it will change when you take responsibility for your inner state. That's when it changes. That's the only thing you can do. It's the only thing we all have to do. And every given moment, take responsibility for your inner state. The moment you become aware of a negative state within yourself, it does not mean you have failed. It means that you have actually succeeded, because now you're aware that you're having an interaction and reaction to life that's not helpful. And so don't go, oh my God, I can't believe I got annoyed. I can't believe I got angry. I can't believe I got jealous. No. It's a normal human reaction to have that emotion come up. It's don't let the emotion pull you. Don't let yourself actually react. Create space, let it pass through, and be the witness. Now you know what jealousy feels like. Now you know what anger feels like. But you don't have to express it and put it out there and make yourself sick. Just let it pass through. You with me? Yeah. Lou says, choose a good song for your dance. Agreed. Before you were the thoughts, emotions, and reactions, now you are the awareness, the conscious presence that is witness to those states. You're the witness that's seen, oh, this is anger. Oh, this is happiness. Oh, this is rage. Oh, this is sadness. And you're not so caught up in it, right? You're the witness to it. When that shift happens, which is the shift from thinking to awareness, an intelligence far greater than the ego's cleverness begins to operate in your life. Emotions and even thoughts become depersonalized because of this awareness. Their impersonal nature is recognized. There is no longer a self in them. They are just human emotions and human thoughts. They're not you. You with me? They're not you. It's just a thing that occurred. It was a passing thought, passing emotion. It doesn't define you. This is how you liberate yourself from PTSD, from post-traumatic stress disorder, into post-traumatic growth. A topic I love talking about. When you free yourself from the ego, when you free yourself from realizing I'm not any of these things, I'm just the vessel through which they happened, the seriousness of all of it goes away. It's like in one fell swoop, all of a sudden, the intelligence that is greater than your ego comes in and you experience life through that being. All right, huge, huge. Okay, we are going to finish out this chapter this week. So it goes from page 118 to 128. We're going to stop in front of chapter 5, the pain body. We are back next Monday at noon. Okay, so you can join me back then. Lots of love to all of you. If for some reason this didn't come through clearly, I will be posting it up on the YouTube channel so you can watch it clearly there. Okay, lots of love to all of you. Have a fabulous week and practice, right? Practice. Remember what we said. I am creating my suffering right now. I am creating this myself. So stop creating it the moment you see it happening and release. All right, lots of love. I'll see you guys.